I want to start this video off by saying take the following with a huge, massive, dump truck size grain of salt, okay? Because I know what a sensitive subject this is for all of us Nintendo fans. I know your heart has been broken before, you've barely even started putting the pieces back together, and I'm going to come in here and set it up to get broken again. So, the Nintendo Switch Virtual Console has been one of the most discussed subjects surrounding the Nintendo Switch. Since it released, really, people have been longing for the opportunity to play Nintendo's back catalog on this thing. A few months ago, Nintendo stated that the classic games would not return under that banner, supposedly killing off the idea of a virtual console, at least in name, leading many to speculate that these games would be somehow tied to the online service. And we were right, sort of. There are classic games included in Nintendo Online, but only from the NES. However, new info has been discovered, has been brought to light. Twitter user KevDoy has been doing some sleuthing and discovered in the eShop.JSON files a new VC category has popped up, and within it, sections labeled the following: NES, SNES, GB, GBC, N64, GBA, and DS, all with their values set to 0, of course. Sadly, you will note someone is missing from this party, but, beggars can't be choosers, I guess. Now, could this be some garbage leftover code? Sure. Many have compared it to what is currently on the 3DS's eShop. Also, I've seen people say this probably isn't anything because of the inclusion of DS, because it's a dual screen system. I would remind you, if you're in that category, you're looking at DS scratching your head like, oh, that can't be right. Remember that the Wii U actually had DS games on its virtual console with various display options that included having both displays on a single screen. So I definitely don't think that would be out of the question for the Switch. Perhaps the biggest question, though, about this would be, why is it being added now? Or, if it's been there, how has no one found it until now? Sure, there are various not fun infrastructure-type reasonings that may have resulted in this, but yeah, like I said, they're not fun to speculate on. Let's consider also that Nintendo has been in the doghouse with many of their fans recently in terms of their online service, receiving backlash on levels you rarely see directed towards the Big N. There is no way they're not aware of the level of displeasure from the fan base, and the one feature that I feel is pretty much universally requested from these players is the ability to play classic games, of course, classic games beyond the NES, okay? I've said it in plenty of videos. All they need to do is come out during a direct and say, yeah, all these systems are coming, they're on the way, and bam, just like that, I think they would turn this whole thing around. I think all of us who are ready to get our pitchforks and torches and, storm the Nintendo headquarters over this whole online debacle, we'd all be pretty satisfied if they announced this stuff was coming. So yeah, with all the negative attention they've gotten lately, they have to be at least considering it. And here's another thing. Other companies, not named Nintendo, like Capcom, SNK, Sega, even possibly Konami, they're reportedly working on a Castlevania collection now, are providing better retro support for the Switch than Nintendo themselves. I mean, if Konami does start dumping retro stuff for the Switch, how embarrassing would that be? One of the most hated companies in gaming providing a better retro lineup than Nintendo on their own console. That'd be pretty sad. Capcom's been killing it already, bringing over the Mega Man collection, Street Fighter collection. Sega has the Ages brand that they're starting to release older stuff under. And I think a lot of people don't get, how much money there is to be made here with this stuff. Games that are already made and just porting them over. Obviously, it's not that expensive. That recently released Capcom Beat 'em Ups bundle, for instance, is currently, at the time of this recording, listed as number 3 in the bestsellers category on the Switch eShop. Imagine if that was like a Zelda collection or something. It would just be crushing it at number 1, probably until Smash comes out. Now, we can't forget they also want to sell the classic systems as well. We've talked about that a bunch in the past when it comes to distributing these games. They do want to sell those systems, but those are very much, as I've said, more of a niche collector's item. they're not really a viable way to play games in the modern day, especially with how few they come with. Sure, you can hack them in that, but that's not their intended use. That's not what Nintendo is encouraging you to do. And with like PlayStation now entering the fray there, an N64 classic almost surely on the way, what are you going to do? Have like 10 of these classic consoles hooked up to your TV in a few years? You really think that's the future? Not to mention, these things have a shelf life. Once everyone who's going to buy one buys one, it's over. And as we see, they must certainly not be worried about hurting the future sales of the NES classics, as much of those games are already on the service, and I wouldn't be surprised if they all end up being on there before long. So I think even if they are doing this, that may be one thing to consider. They do want to maximize the profits off these classic consoles, so it could be a pattern where one of the classic consoles comes out, they give it its run, then after a year or two, those games start popping up on the Switch. And yeah, this could also end up being something else entirely. Seeing just the letters VC doesn't necessarily mean this is the resurrection of the Virtual Console. If these games do come, I still think it's very likely they'll end up being rolled into the online somehow. I know there's many people who want just to have the option to buy them, but I think Nintendo will continue to do whatever they can to push the subscriptions. Or maybe they end up being offered in a totally different way. I tell you, with all these classic collections like I referred to coming out, I would totally be down to just go to the store and buy, a Zelda Collections cartridge. I'd buy that all day. I don't know, and at this point, I really don't care. I just want to be able to play this stuff on the Switch already. I mean, it's been too long. Anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on the Virtual Console showing signs of life in the comments. Are you starting to get excited again, or have you just been hurt too much over this whole ordeal to feel anything until it's actually 100% confirmed? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion of the potential Virtual Console revival. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter at Johnny Zakari. Join my Discord, Shy Guy and Friends. Link to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.